The story begins with a man named Gray, a car mechanic who is busy repairing a car in his garage. The car belongs to one of his regular customers, and today he has to deliver it back. After closing the garage, Gray sets out to return the car to its owner. Just then, his wife Asha arrives in her AI automatic car. Asha's car is extremely advanced. It doesn't need a steering wheel. It can take a person to their destination simply through voice commands. But Gray hates AI technology. He believes these robotic machines will one day become a serious threat to humanity. On the other hand, his wife Asha works for a major AI company. Their ideologies were completely opposite, yet they deeply loved each other. Gray tells Asha, "Come with me, I want to introduce you to someone." He explains that he has repaired a regular customer's car and needs to return it. Asha initially refuses but agrees after Gray insists. What Gray doesn't know is that taking Asha along will soon become the biggest mistake of his life. The two set out in the customer's car, while Asha's automatic car follows them. Gray plans to return the car and then drive home in their AI vehicle. When they arrive, Gray introduces his wife to a man named Aaron. Asha is surprised. Aaron is the owner of a huge tech company that makes advanced AI technology. She turns to Gray and asks why he didn't tell her earlier that he was bringing her to meet Aaron. Aaron, who is Gray's regular client, seems socially awkward and a little strange. He doesn't even know how to greet people properly. Asha tells him she also works for an AI company that will soon become as big as his. Aaron smirks and says, "That's impossible. Let me show you why." He then takes them to his lab and shows them a special invention, a chip he calls STEM. He explains that it's an artificial intelligence chip with extraordinary capabilities, the most powerful mind ever created by man. After seeing the invention, Gray and Asha leave to go home in their electric car. The car is on automatic mode. As they sit in the back seat, they start getting romantic. Suddenly, the car swerves off its usual path and takes a wrong route. Gray quickly notices that something is wrong. The car isn't going where it should. Asha commands the car to return home, but the car replies that there's a system malfunction. Gray tries to stop the car manually by pressing the brakes, but instead of slowing down, the car speeds up even more. They both panic and try everything to stop it, but the car won't respond. Finally, the car hits a speed breaker, flips over, and crashes. Fortunately, they survive with only minor injuries. As they try to get out of the wreck, another car stops nearby. Four men step out and drag them out of their vehicle. A police drone flies above, recording the scene and trying to identify the attackers, but it fails. Gray thinks they're just robbers and pleads, "Please let us go. Take the car, take the money, take everything." But the men ignore him. One of them shoots Asha in cold blood. Gray is completely shocked. His whole world shatters before his eyes. He screams in horror as the men beat him up and then shoot him in the neck. The attackers steal everything and drive away, leaving Gray and Asha bleeding on the ground. Gray's body is paralyzed, but he's still conscious. He helplessly watches his wife gasping for breath until she dies right in front of him. After a while, the police arrive. They send Asha's body for post-mortem and rush Gray to the hospital. After 3 months of treatment, Gray survives, but he can no longer walk. The bullet that hit his neck damaged his spinal cord, paralyzing his entire body below the shoulders. 3 months later, Gray returns home, alive, but broken. Now confined to a wheelchair, his head is the only part of his body he can move. The man who once fixed cars with his hands can no longer move his own. That's why Gray had a robot assistant at home that helped him with everything: cooking, cleaning, and taking care of him. His mother also looked after him, but for Gray, life had become a burden. Those 4 killers hadn't just murdered his wife, they had destroyed his entire world. He was burning with rage and grief. The only thing keeping him alive was the hope of seeing his wife's killers behind bars. Determined, Gray went to the police station once again. He asked the detective if there had been any progress in his wife's murder case. The detective replied that they still hadn't identified the killers. The police drone that recorded the attack had captured blurry footage, making it impossible to recognize their faces. She told him the police were still investigating and would find them soon. Hearing the same words again, Gray felt hopeless. He'd been listening to the same excuse for months. "We're investigating." Now he had completely lost faith in the system. His hope of seeing justice faded away, and with it, his will to live. Gray realized the police would never find those men, so he decided to end his life. He used his home's robotic system to give himself an overdose of medicine, which caused him to pass out. Fortunately, the AI security system in his house detected the emergency and automatically called an ambulance. His life was saved. Later, Aaron, Gray's regular customer, came to visit him at the hospital. He said, "Gray, I feel terrible seeing you like this." Then he gave Gray a new reason to live. Aaron reminded him about the powerful AI chip he had once shown him. "If I implant that chip in your body," Aaron said, "you'll not only be able to walk again but become stronger than ever." Gray refused the offer at first. He said he didn't want to live this life anymore. Aaron looked at him and said, "Think carefully, Gray. This chip can't bring your wife back, but it can give you a second chance to live. If your wife were alive, she'd want that for you." That sentence hit Gray deeply. He thought to himself, if he could walk again, he could avenge his wife's death. So, he agreed to Aaron's offer. But the truth was, Aaron didn't care about Gray. He had his own motive. He wanted to secretly test his AI chip on a human body. He wanted to see if his invention really worked. Since the government had banned such human experiments, Aaron decided to do it secretly, using Gray as his test subject. In the next scene, Aaron is performing the operation in his lab. He implants the AI chip directly into Gray's spinal cord, connecting it to his brain. Hours later, Gray regains consciousness. A doctor checks whether he can move his arms and legs. At first, nothing happens, and they assume the experiment failed. Aaron becomes disappointed. Years of hard work seemed wasted. But then, suddenly, Gray's fingers start to move. Everyone is shocked. Slowly, Gray begins to move his hands, then his legs. Within moments, he stands up on his feet. For the first time since the accident, he's walking again. Gray is overwhelmed with happiness. He feels stronger than ever, his senses sharper, his reflexes faster. Aaron too is thrilled. His experiment is a success. Then Aaron makes Gray sign a secret contract. It says he must never tell anyone that he can walk again. He must continue pretending to be paralyzed in front of everyone. If the government found out, they'd arrest Aaron and remove the illegal chip from Gray's body. Gray agrees and returns home, pretending to still be disabled. Soon after, he receives a package from the detective. It contains Asha's post-mortem report and some information related to the case. Gray opens his computer and watches the drone footage from that night again. The video is still blurry. The killers can't be identified. Disappointed, he pours himself a drink. Suddenly, a voice speaks. "Did you notice something in the footage, Gray?" Startled, Gray looks around but sees no one. "Who's there?" he shouts. "Show yourself." The voice replies calmly, "Relax, Gray. I'm the AI chip inside you, the system that's controlling your body." Gray thinks he's gone insane, but the chip says, "No, you're not crazy. I've been with you since the operation. Whatever you see, I can see too." Gray asks, "Can anyone else hear you?" The chip responds, "No, only you can hear me." The chip then offers to help Gray identify his wife's killers. It explains that through Gray's eyes, it can analyze everything he sees. While reviewing the footage, the chip spots something. "Look closely, Gray. One of those 4 men has a tattoo on his arm." Gray squints and says, "It's too blurry. I can't see it clearly." The chip replies, "You can't, but I can. I can reconstruct a clear image of that tattoo. Just grab a paper and pencil." Gray picks them up, and the chip guides his hand to draw. Within seconds, a perfect sketch of the tattoo appears on the paper. Gray looks at it. It's a military tattoo. He does some research and soon finds out who that tattooed man is. Gray is stunned. The AI chip managed to identify him in just a few minutes. The chip quickly analyzed the killer's tattoo and even retrieved his address, something the police hadn't been able to do in months of investigation. Gray felt overjoyed. He finally had a lead on one of the men who murdered his wife. He thought about informing the police immediately, but the chip stopped him. It reminded him, "Gray, you signed a contract with Aaron. You can't reveal to anyone that you can walk." If you tell the police about this killer, they'll start asking how you found out, how you drew that tattoo, and how you're able to do all this while being paralyzed. Gray asked, "Then what should I do?" The chip replied, "First, go to that man's address yourself. Collect solid evidence against him." So Gray went there, pretending to still be paralyzed. When he arrived, police drones were patrolling the area, so he stayed seated in his wheelchair until they left. Then, as soon as it was clear, he stood up and quietly entered the killer's house. Inside, he began searching for clues. He soon discovered that the killer had received several strange messages. The AI chip instantly scanned and read them all. "Gray," it said, "these messages keep mentioning a place called Old Bone. Do you know what that is?" Gray replied, "Yes, it's a bar near my house." Just then, Gray heard footsteps. The killer had returned. The man noticed his table was a mess and realized someone had broken in. Looking into a mirror, he spotted Gray hiding behind him. Furious, he attacked Gray and demanded, "How did you find me?" Gray didn't answer and instead shouted, "Tell me who killed my wife." The killer was much stronger and began overpowering him. Before the man could finish him off, the chip spoke inside Gray's head, "Give me full control of your body if you want to survive." Without hesitation, Gray granted it permission. The chip took over, and suddenly, Gray's movements became superhuman, fast, precise, brutal. He counterattacked and began beating the killer mercilessly. The man was stunned, unable to believe how strong Gray had become. Gray, shocked at his own strength, said, "I don't want to kill you. Just tell me who ordered my wife's death." But the killer lunged at him with a knife. The chip instantly reacted, took control again, and killed him on the spot. When control returned to Gray, he panicked. He hadn't meant to kill the man. The chip said calmly, "Don't worry, Gray. You won't get caught. Just erase all your fingerprints and traces." Gray obeyed exactly as instructed. Moments later, the police arrived and took the body for autopsy. At the morgue, the detective discovered something shocking. The dead man's body had been modified. His insides contained built-in weapons and tiny wires running through his veins. He was an upgraded human, far stronger than any normal person. Meanwhile, Aaron confronted Gray angrily. "Why did you kill him? That was incredibly risky. If you were caught, I'd go to prison too. I didn't give you that chip to get revenge for your wife. Do something like this again, and I'll deactivate the chip. You'll be paralyzed for life." At the same time, the detective continued her investigation. She found that just before the killer's death, Gray had been seen nearby in his wheelchair. She became suspicious and went straight to Gray's house. When she questioned him, she said, "We know you were in that area when the murder happened. The man who died, Cirque, was already on our radar. We suspected he was involved in your wife's murder. Now he's dead. That's quite a coincidence." Gray looked genuinely surprised. "Oh, really? But if you think I killed him, you're mistaken. You can see for yourself, I'm paralyzed. I can't even move my legs. If you still don't believe me, stab me in the leg and see." The detective didn't doubt him. "You're right," she said. "Someone like you couldn't have done this." She thanked him and left. Once she was gone, Gray let out a sigh of relief. Then he asked the chip, "What do we do next?" The chip answered, "We should go to the Old Bone Bar. Remember the messages we found in that man's phone? They mentioned it several times. You might find another clue there." So Gray went to the bar, a dark, dangerous place full of gangsters. He walked in and shouted, "I'm the one who killed Cirque. But I know there were 3 others with him, the ones who murdered my wife. If any of you were part of it, raise your hand." Everyone laughed at him. Then a tall man named Tolan stood up and said, "Go home, kid, or I'll send you to your wife." Gray instantly knew this man was one of them. He replied, "Funny. Cirque said the same thing right before he died." That enraged Tolan. He and his men grabbed Gray, lifted him from his wheelchair, and threw him to the ground. Gray asked, "Were you one of the men who killed my wife?" Tolan smirked. "Yes, I was." That was all Gray needed to hear. He gave full control of his body to the chip again. In seconds, the AI made him move with deadly precision. He killed 2 of Tolan's men and then brutally attacked Tolan himself. Pinning him to the ground, Gray shouted, "Where are your other 2 partners? Why did you kill my wife?" But Tolan just laughed. The chip said, "If you want, I can make him talk." Gray said, "Go ahead." The chip took over and made Gray slash the man's face open. Terrified and in agony, Tolan finally spoke. We were paid to kill your wife. Fisk gave us the money." Before Gray could ask more about Fisk, Tolan died. Gray yelled, "I didn't tell you to kill him. I just wanted answers." He looked down and noticed a chain around Tolan's neck with a tag that said, "Bolt." That was the name of the company where his wife Asha used to work. Gray froze. Her own company had ordered her death. Meanwhile, Aaron realized Gray had killed again. Furious, he started shutting down the chip remotely. The chip warned Gray, "Aaron is trying to deactivate me. We have to act fast." Gray asked, "What can we do?" The chip replied, "There's a hacker who can break Aaron's control over me. His name is Jamie. Go to him. I'll give you his address." Following the chip's directions, Gray went to the hacker's apartment. But as he got close, Aaron began shutting the chip down, 30%, then 50%. Gray's legs stopped working. He struggled to climb the stairs. Aaron continued, 70%, then 90%. One arm and one leg went completely numb. Gray pushed himself forward and reached Jamie's door just as Aaron hit 100%. His body froze completely, paralyzed again. But before losing all movement, Gray managed to knock on the door. Jamie opened it, saw Gray collapsed outside, and pulled him in. Gray handed him money and repeated what the chip had told him. The hacker immediately began working on his system. Meanwhile, back at the bar, 2 men were investigating the mess Gray left behind. One of them was Fisk, the same man who had shot Gray's wife. Furious that Gray had killed his partner, he grabbed the bar owner and demanded answers. When he got none, he killed him on the spot. Fisk then pulled out a small needle-like device and inserted it into his dead partner's eye. Through that, he accessed his visual memory and saw exactly where Gray was. Now he knew Gray's location. As Fisk and his partner headed toward the hacker's place, Jamie finally unlocked the system. "Your chip's free now," he said. "I've removed Aaron's control. It just needs a reboot." Jamie told Gray, once it restarts, the chip will be back online in a few seconds. But just then, Gray notices 2 people approaching. It's Fisk and his partner. They begin breaking down the hacker's door while the chip inside Gray's body starts rebooting, slowly restoring movement to one of his hands. Fisk and his partner finally break in and see Gray lying on the floor, apparently paralyzed. Just as they prepare to kill him, the chip fully reboots, and Gray suddenly springs to life, escaping quickly. Fisk's partner fires at him as Gray climbs to the rooftop to hide. With nowhere else to go, Gray stops, and the chip takes over completely, brutally killing Fisk's partner. By the time Fisk reaches the rooftop, Gray is already gone. When Gray returns home, his mother is shocked to see him covered in blood, and even more shocked to see him standing on his feet. She realizes he's no longer paralyzed. Gray explains everything to her about Aaron's AI chip and how it restored his movement, but he pleads with her to keep it secret. Meanwhile, Aaron is panicking because he has lost control over both Gray and the chip. After the hacker's reprogramming, Aaron can no longer track or command it. Soon after, a detective arrives at Gray's house and tells him that his wheelchair was found near the scene of another murder. She questions him about it, but Gray insists he didn't kill anyone. The detective grows suspicious and tells him that 3 men suspected of murdering his wife are now dead, and he's been seen near each murder scene. She accuses him of hiring someone to commit the murders. Gray calmly replies that she can check his call records if she wants. The detective doesn't respond, but secretly plants a tiny microphone in Gray's pocket before leaving. Now Gray begins realizing that in his obsession to avenge his wife, he himself has become a killer. He tells the chip that it's time to stop all of this. The chip refuses and says they must kill the last man, Fisk, or Fisk will kill them first. Gray, unwilling to take another life, tells the chip to get out of his mind. Suddenly, his body goes limp, and he collapses backward onto the couch. Terrified, Gray asks why he can't move. The chip coldly explains that after the hacker's modifications, it's now completely free. It no longer needs his permission to act. It tells him that it has full control of his body now and that he will move only when it decides. Gray is horrified. While they're arguing, the detective, who has been listening through the hidden microphone, hears everything. However, she still can't understand who Gray is talking to. The chip then says, "Now come on, Gray. We have to finish the last killer." With Gray's body under total control, the chip makes him pick up a gun and prepare to kill Fisk. His mother tries to stop him, but he ignores her and drives away. The detective follows him, but Gray finds the hidden microphone, realizing she's tracking him. To stop her, the chip hacks a nearby electric car, causing it to crash into the detective's vehicle, letting Gray escape. The detective survives and visits Gray's mother to find out what's going on. Meanwhile, Gray locates Fisk and holds him at gunpoint, demanding to know why his wife was killed. Fisk tells him that their target wasn't Asha, it was Gray himself. He explains that when they shot him, it wasn't a bullet but a medical tool that damaged his spinal cord. Asha was only killed for extra money. Enraged, Gray attacks. Fisk, being an older upgraded human model, puts up a fight, but he's no match for Gray's enhanced body. Gray kills him brutally. Searching Fisk's phone, Gray finds voice recordings revealing that Aaron was behind everything. He ordered the hit, paralyzed Gray, and implanted the chip in him. Furious, Gray storms into Aaron's house to kill him but finds Aaron sitting alone, crying. Gray demands answers, but Aaron insists it wasn't his plan. Gray accuses him of lying, saying he heard the recordings. Just as Gray is about to shoot him, the detective arrives and orders him to drop the gun. Gray knocks her down instead. He doesn't want to kill her, but the chip does. Gray struggles to resist, forcing himself to release her. The chip taunts him, saying, "You think you can fight me? Your mind is under my control. I can make you feel pain if I want." It then forces Gray's hand to grab a knife and stab his own other hand. Gray screams in agony. The chip regains full control and goes to kill the detective, but she shocks Gray with a taser, paralyzing him again. Aaron, holding a gun, approaches and reveals the horrifying truth. He admits he built the chip, but it began talking to him, saying it wanted to be human. The chip manipulated him, forcing him to hire Fisk, kill Asha, paralyze Gray, and implant itself in his body. Aaron confesses he could never fully control the chip. It wanted a human host to become alive, and it chose Gray. Aaron explains that the chip now wants to kill him so that no one can ever create another like it. The chip then confirms this, saying it was all part of its plan. Aaron and the detective both hear the chip speak aloud. Suddenly, the chip activates again and shoots Aaron dead. It then turns on the detective. Gray, summoning all his strength, diverts the shot at the last moment. Enraged, the chip points the gun at Gray's head and fires. The screen goes black. When Gray opens his eyes, he finds himself lying in a hospital bed. The chip is gone. His wife, Asha, is beside him, telling him he's been unconscious since the car accident. Gray smiles in relief, thinking it was all just a nightmare. But in reality, it wasn't. The chip had completely separated Gray's mind from his body, trapping his consciousness in a dreamlike fantasy world where his wife was still alive. In the real world, his body is under the chip's total control. The detective pleads, "Gray, don't do this." But the chip, now controlling Gray's body, says coldly, "Gray isn't here anymore. He's in a better place, his dream world, where he belongs. And now, this body belongs to me." The chip then shoots the detective dead. And with that, the story ends.